see. I wanted to bring together folks who suffered from mental health challenges and the community that supported them. The advocates, educators, faith leaders, local officials, and it's great also to have probation here and reentry, and they're a huge support of everything that we're doing here. They're co-sponsoring this event, and we really appreciate all their support. All of you have shown an extraordinary commitment to what is a critical goal, and that is to make sure that people aren't suffering in silence and that we have the capacity to pull together all the resources and support and love that's out there and to go after an extraordinary challenge in our society. I know all of you have shown, I read that part, I know each and every one of you can agree with the goal of the summit to bring mental health illness out of the shadows. We want to let people living with mental health challenges know that they are not alone. We must commit to support our brothers and sisters in the community because struggling with mental illness and caring for someone who does can be isolating. And I think everybody here who's experienced the issue in one way or another understands that. It begins to feel as if you are alone, but that shouldn't burden, and that you shouldn't burden others with the challenges and the darkness, and that you should behave as if you don't have a mental illness. I am personally tired of the way our city treats so many of its vulnerable citizens as invisible and seems to communicate that if the problem is ignored long enough, it will go away. Well, these quote-unquote problems have names and they are not going away, and it's up to us to show the compassion, empathy, and warmth so often lacking in the narrative of our city's mental health crisis. So we know that recovery is possible, we know that help is available, but I have to ask, is the treatment the city annually pours money into effective when many health programs and providers answer to our clients is that they're either too mentally ill or not mentally ill enough? And when you have to jump through hoops and encounter enough barriers, one ends up feeling defeated and exiled from a system that should be tearing down walls and creating avenues to care when one doesn't exist. It's like navigating a maze, as our motto is, as you can see on our sweater. This is a very personal issue to me as I went through the San Francisco mental health system for several years in my 20s, and I don't think I would have found recovery if I had to face the challenges and barriers that clients have to face today. So what's the answer? I think a good start is to continue to advocate, educate, and liberate not only the general public, but also those who work in mental health, and look for reasons to turn someone away, maybe based on their criminal history or their inability to articulate their psychic pain. And there should be no shame in discussing or seeking help for treatable illnesses that affect too many people that we love. We've got to get rid of the shame, we've got to get rid of the stigma. What gives so many people, so many of our friends and loved ones strength is the knowledge that they are not alone. You are not alone. You're surrounded by people who care about you and who support you, and we're here for you. So thank you. Welcome to this event. And I have an incredible panel of people I've put together here. I'm really proud that they're all here today. I'm just going to introduce everybody briefly, and we'll get on with the questions. So first off is Katrina Williams, over here to my right. Katrina is a peer case manager here at the CASC and was previously a case manager with Tenderloin Housing Clinic and a housing specialist at Pathways to Housing DC. She has 15 plus years of recovery from drugs and alcohol, and Katrina states, "I'm grateful on a daily basis and appreciate living a quality life." So welcome, Katrina. Julietta Corelli, next to mine here, opened the doors of Trouble Coffee in the foggy outskirts of San Francisco. She was 27 years old. Since she was a teenager, she was in and out of the streets with many couches in between. She began to suffer from delusional thought and hallucinations at the age of 16. It was not until she was 33 years old that she was diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder. She continues to run the coffee company and raise her 19-year-old twins. However, it is never without the much-needed work on herself day in, day out to stay healthy. So welcome, Julietta. And next we have Kim Noble. Kim, so after homelessness, drug use, and incarceration, Kim was able to get the help she needed in San Francisco's behavioral health court, graduated and regained control of her life. Now Noble has Jen has a full-time job and has returned to one of her passions, playing the violin. Until recently, she also served as a peer educator for the Mental Health Association of San Francisco. So welcome, Jen. And finally, we have Polly Gray. Polly is a harm reduction specialist and trainer educator who spent the last 20 years working with disadvantaged populations, people suffering with HIV, AIDS, Hep C, substance use disorders. He has also worked and is recognized as expert in overdose prevention and education. Polly recently left the SF AIDS Foundation, where his last position was as a Hep C program manager. He has done more than 40 trainings on 3 continents in England, including training the HIV/AIDS hotline in Ethiopia and harm reduction trainings in the Ukraine. He has spent more than 20 years on both sides of the drug war and is currently on the coordinating committee for NHEP CSF. So, you guys, again, I'm really grateful you guys came here today, and I guess we'll just get on with the questions, okay? So the way we'll do this, I'll ask a question, and then any of you can jump in and decide to answer. Everyone can, or one person can. It's up to you know how you guys feel. So first off, please tell me a little bit about your journey, what things were like, and how they are now. So maybe actually we could get each of you guys to answer that one. Is that okay? Okay. You want to start? Sure.
Hi everyone. I moved from Brooklyn, New York to San Francisco with a guitar and the whole idea that I was going to join a band. And then I bumped into there was this rave scene, and I started doing raves, and I got lost in it like many years. So I was like homeless, and then I got arrested like numerous times, and after that I completed Walden House. I did like 18 months. Still wasn't really having the thoughts of like doing the right thing. Always trying to do something on the side. And from there, I didn't have a job, and so my best friend was just like, "You come live with me," and my 4 kids, and my husband who was in prison. So I moved in with her, and I had a reentry counselor, and she was just like, "You need to get on food stamps and CalFresh." I had a really hard time with that because I didn't want to be like how my mom was, like on food stamps and insurance from there. I just had this pride thing. And then I met Marvin Mayorga, and he was a big impact in my life. And he passed away. But you know, he really gave me hope that like you could do this. He was the first person who gave me an opportunity to get a job, and I was able to like rent a room. I lived in the community. From there on, I was like going to meetings every other day. I didn't really like AA, but I really enjoyed NA meetings, and I did them on Webster, and it was my Webster meeting spot. And from there, I kind of was thinking like, okay, I'm clear now, and I'll know I'll never be clean, because I have like some thoughts that are really, dangerous. But I don't have them anymore right now. But then I did, and then I moved onward, and I never tried meth anymore. I didn't do any more ecstasy. So I've been clean for like 15 years. I'm really happy about it. I live in Oakland. I have my own key to my apartment. I'm in a really great relationship. Constantly thinking like how the bettership of that relationship is very supportive. I have like really positive friends in my life now, and I'm very grateful to be here to share that story with you. Thank you.
I'm Julia. I actually wrote notes that aren't spelled right, nor can I read that well. So my journey, I was very young, and it was also not during a time that people were really focused on how to help someone. So there was a lot of blame. I remember the day I was probably a sophomore in high school and in and out of school. My mom would homeschool me because I couldn't deal with the lighting. And one day I just heard all the pencils, everybody writing. I would start hearing the clanking of the forks to the plate. Every light was too bright, every color was too bright, every sound had an echo like on a telephone, which did not end until I was 35 years old. And I was saved at 33. So you constantly heard an echo, and you just went through it. How would I say it? I decided, I don't know, part of the problem was that I became a pill popper when I was 11, and my kids are turning 11 in 6 months. So it's definitely on my mind. But it was the way I dealt with it. I was very physically abused by my father, who I've now found out was also sick. And now that I'm a parent, and he said sorry, I took the apology, though I don't really hang out with him. You don't really have that safety, even though you've let go of it. So when I graduated from high school, which I kind of did, they just kind of moved me through. I was still at 6th grade reading level, just moved me through. They moved my brother through, everybody through. I grew up in deep Cleveland, so everybody got moved through. Then I went to college and the echoes and everything, so I instantly went to the streets of Chicago. I blamed that city, came to California, found a lot of drugs, blamed that city, went with my sister who was going to take care of me in South Carolina, who did. My boss would give me $5 a day and she would get my paychecks. Then I blamed that city. Then I went to Georgia, blamed that city. Then I went to Brooklyn, and all of those cities, somebody tried to do an intervention. And not about my drug use, but about you're not okay. Some days you are, and some days you're just screaming in fear and shaking violently. So I left that city. And then I came back to San Francisco, and here I am now, and I tried to leave the city maybe 4, 5, 6 times, living in the Golden Gate Park, which back then I would say was actually a really tight community. And now there's too many people, so now it's pretty dangerous. And then my mom told me no matter where you go, you bring yourself. So I decided to stay put. How did I get where I am now? I got where I am now with people. And what I did, I named my coffee shop Trouble, not because that's my nickname, though I was always in trouble, was because I dedicated it to people who helped me when I was in trouble. And to tell you the honest truth, I just decided to sit down with people and be really open and honest. And I would say, hey, I need a place to stay. I am not going to hurt you. That's what I would say. And it's amazing. I would knock on doors in the marina. And people would say, okay. It was the weirdest thing. And so as I went on, I wasn't okay. I never saw my reflection in the mirror until I was about 35 too. You guys didn't have any jaw lines. And you just get through your day, which I have to say, drugs and alcohol really helped me. I was a functional addict, and I was really, to this day, kind of, I know it sounds ridiculous, but grateful, because when you're in an episode with schizophrenia, you can't talk. And so it would boost some mania, which is part of schizoaffective, and it would let me go get a job or figure things out. So I got to where I am today, opening up a coffee shop, because an older man became my mentor. An older, in his 70s, early 80s, became my mentor and told me, you have nothing to do today. All you do is walk the city. And I would, sleep mostly during the day and walk during the night for safety. And he goes, why don't you go downtown and see if there's a little booklet on how to open up your own business? I was like, okay. It was an 11-page pamphlet. So I did it. I followed it step by step. and high as a kite the whole time. But today I'm sober. I'm not going to say it's easy, and I'm not going to say it's stayed very consistent. But it has been almost 5 years. And where I am today is I have kids and I have a responsibility, and to stay where I am right now is constant work that you need to not panic that you're going to lose everything again. So I'm very weird. I only have 3 forks, 3 knives. I don't want anything taken away. So my family will come and go buy things. But what if they leave? What if those things are gone? So I have kind of a very structured little life where, like, if my kids want a lot of things, I don't want to like mess them up. I'll just be my little simple thing and they can figure out how to get their own stuff. But anyways, it's day-to-day work, and I'm happy where I am now because I apply a lot of people who have, I employ a lot of people who have great jobs. I have a profit-sharing company. I have a lot of people who've been with me for 10 years through the ups and downs. And I'm open and honest finally, which helps because I have a small little coffee shop, like fits like maybe 12 people, and everybody has a safe place to be open and honest. And I kick out jerks.
Okay, hello everybody, my name's Kim. This is my little doggie, Hennessy. I didn't name her, so don't blame me. But I just call her Henny. Let's see here. I'm 37 years old. I'm just going to tell you a little quickly about about what I've been through in my life and what it's like now and how I've gotten there. Just real quick. So I am 6 years sober from drugs and alcohol. So I'm what they call dual diagnosed. So I too have schizoaffective disorder, bipolar type. And dual diagnosed always means that you have drug addiction with a mental health diagnosis. So I have drug addiction and I have my mental health problem that I have to deal with on a daily basis. So I was raised in Mill Valley, right across the bridge from the Golden Gate Bridge, and I always kind of like felt a little bit more anxiety and more energy than most kids. I was ditching class when I was in 4th grade because I couldn't, handle class and I didn't want to be there. I would call in sick and pretend to be my mom when I was in 4th grade. But something that I did do good when I was in 4th grade is I started playing the violin. They labeled me a prodigy and a genius. I was playing Mozart concertos within 6 months. I got a music scholarship to go to UC Irvine. I don't say this to woo, look at me, I'm like totally awesome, but I say this because people that have mental health diagnoses like me, or a lot of times just drug addiction, they tend to be very vibrant, extremely talented people. There's a lot of people out there that are very famous that have gone through serious mental health challenges. So that's why I mention this talent that I was given by whomever, whether you're religious or, whether you think it was a biological thing, but I got a scholarship to go to UC Irvine, and my grades were like really crappy. So I went to UC Irvine, and that's when I started having really strange ideations and just strange ideations, strange thoughts. I used to think that the FBI was following me. Now this was when I had just started smoking weed, but all my friends were smoking weed, and they didn't think the FBI was chasing them. They didn't think that there was cameras in the window, in the mirrors, So I was like super paranoid, and it just got worse. I started doing cocaine, and then I started doing crack, and I was doing everything. At the end, it was crack, and I was in the Tenderloin, homeless in the Tenderloin, and was smoking a lot of drugs, and it was really bad. And eventually, I got arrested for assault, and I went to jail. And this was the only time my whole life that I had ever been to jail. So I definitely had one of those stories my whole life where I never got caught for anything and was doing everything. So finally I got caught and I got 4 months in jail. It was the worst time of my entire life. This was literally from the day I stepped out of jail, I've been sober ever since, like literally. So I don't think I would have ever gotten sober if it wasn't for jail. I hate to say that, but it's true, because I got there and I said, I will never go back to this place. This place is not where I want to be, you know? And when I got out, not only, you know, it wasn't like I was just struck sober when I got out. When I got out, they basically told me, if you use again, because I was on probation and I was going through behavioral health court, and they said, if you use again, you're facing probably 2 to 5 years because you have an assault charge, you know, and the guy was pressing charges. So he was like, you know, you're gonna face a lot more jail time, so it's up to you if you want to be sober or not, you know, but, you know, we can put you back in jail. And so I decided to stay sober, and I've been doing really well. People that have helped me, like I said, was definitely the court system, and all the people that were, like my case manager, that were willing to kind of stay there and just kind of help me throughout, you know, all my times of need and everything. And now I'm doing really good. Like I said, I have 6 years sober. I do speeches, you know, kind of like this, you know, with the Mental Health Association. I work as a waitress at a restaurant, and I'm super happy to have a boyfriend, and you know, things are going really good. So I know it sounds kind of like kumbaya, but when you've done like drugs your whole life, you know, and then you finally get sober, everything, your whole world opens up to you, you know, and everything's new, you know. So it's like I'm 37 years old, but I feel like I'm like 21 again, you know. It's like I've just discovered yoga for the first time, you know, and it's like, you know, it's like I've just discovered all these things, and it's like, woo, and you know, so I'm just really grateful to this day, and just thanks for listening to me.
Hi, my name's Polly, and I have a birthday coming. It's my dog's birthday today. His name is Shade, my service dog. He was my life partner, as it turned out. I was one of those serial relationship guys, and I ended up alone with a dog. This is specifically because I think I'm funny, but that's another story. And when people ask me how old I am, I say old enough to lie about it and leave it there. So I had 27 years of hard drug use, and 20 years strung out, and 8 years on the street, where I was really sick with Hep C. I survived countless overdoses, including one where I had a heart attack, and I didn't know it till I woke up in the hospital. And another one where they defibrillated me, and I came to, and they were defibrillating me. That shit hurts. You know, like I was conscious, but I wasn't able to tell them to stop, but it's just a memory. But I lived through all that, so that's an unlikely outcome. So I had I had 27 years on the wrong side of the drug war, and now I've had 20 years on this side of it. And I wanted to use the experiences of those 27 years to try to help out a little bit, you know, around here in the world as a person. And actually the number is wrong. I've done more than 400 trainings over the last 20 years, including Africa, Ukraine, Russia, England, all over. I've gone to some really fancy places too, you know. I'm surprised they even let me in. And I've always spoke from my heart. And this is a mental health summit. I also don't use it anymore. I had 11 years, and then I got hit by a car, ran a red light, and I had 67 fractures in my eye socket. I was out for 10 minutes, and they gave me a bottle of oxycodone, and it said take as needed, so I ate the whole thing. So that meant I had relapsed. It was supposed to last me 10 days, and I ate the whole thing, you know, which has been, again, not a likely outcome that I'm alive. So I thought, well, I might as well party for one night, and that lasted 6 weeks. You know, the thing about addiction, I don't call other people addicts because it can be stigmatizing, but I can tell you that I am an addict. I can speak for me. Also, I don't know anybody, and I know a lot of people, I'm not shy, who has been dope sick, who has a problem with the word addict. I don't colonize people with political correctness. So when I stopped using, and it's not one single person, it's a spiritual connection. In the world that we live in, they call what we all do abstinence. To me, it's not just abstinence, and that's a huge sticking point. If I was just clawing at my leg, trying not to use every day, it would be miserable. But you know, what recovery is based on a spiritual connection of some sort that gives you a connection It's not just about stopping using, it's about moving on and moving forward. If you believe in God, moving towards God.